Since the time I've come back from my mission, I have seen people from northern part of our countries, eastern part of our countries, western part of our countries, southern part, all across. Everyone has reached out and they are all happy, they are all proud. There is no help that is readily available. So you need to be trained sufficiently so that you can respond to these situations. So training is challenging, it is hard, and it is quite long. And I think that is the reason that it takes so much more, so many people to prepare someone to go to space. Thousands of people are required to make one mission happen.
Indian Institute of Science played a big role in designing some of the curriculum around what they should be reading, because see, while they are astronauts, they also have to learn a lot of science.
Fortunately, I was a test pilot by then and I was serving as a test pilot. And when you say selection, it is already a huge selection first to get into the Air Force. 3 steps of filtration already that has happened. And then from there, you take the 72 people and from there you get to 4. So I think it was a long process of selection all this while.
Did a parabolic flight, and after just a few minutes, I felt like vomiting, and it's very difficult to concentrate on the experiment after that. One of the key things about space, for the longest times we have been told that India is a poor nation. We should maybe not attempt some of these things. But from the days of Vikram Sarabhai, during his time, even sending a satellite was an extremely costly affair that many thought that India should not undertake.
Today you saw what you saw, right? How kids are excited. Why are they excited? Because they feel someone like them has gone to space. And this is the power these missions hold. They have the capability of bringing the entire nations together. But to dream of what needs to be done, that is the biggest challenge. If you can get, kids to believe that they can do this, I think that is the biggest win, which actually already kind of happened. When I was on orbit, I had 3 interactions with kids. There was one kid, at least in each of them, what they asked was that, how do I become an astronaut?
Hello and welcome to an extremely special sideline interview for PLF 2025. My honor is immense to welcome Group Captain and Astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla and Professor Aloke Kumar. This is really a privilege. Thank you, gentlemen. I know you're both very tired. You've done a big, long journey, and then you've had a long session with us, but I'm so grateful for this. So, Group Captain Shukla, the first thing I want to ask you is, when you're training for an astronaut, when you're doing your entire mission, what are the challenges that you face?
These missions are inherently very complex, and the training involves a span of activities that you're supposed to perform when you're on the station. Essentially what you're doing is you are going to a place and you are living there. It's your house. You are going to do science, but as well as that is your house, and everything that we do here in our house, if you have to imagine, right from getting a plumber to electrician to a mechanic to a doctor, like all these functions have to be performed by you when you're living on the station, along with what the science that you are going there to do. So the training spans across these various disciplines. Medicine or the medical being the most important aspect, because if something happens or some emergency happens, there is no help that is readily available. So you need to be trained sufficiently so that you can respond to these situations. So training is challenging, it is hard, and it is quite long. And I think that is the reason that it takes so much more, so many people to prepare someone to go to space. That is why it is a much bigger collaborative effort than just an individual. Of course, the individual gets seen as traveling to the space and coming back, but I think it requires a huge team, and a lot of people are working across the globe. For the mission that I went for, like the Exam 4 mission, we traveled globally and we trained everywhere, right from the Germany in the European Space Agency, JAXA, Japan, and NASA and SpaceX at Axiom Space. Everybody spread globally are working together for this one common mission. So thousands of people are required to make one mission happen.
So that's very impressive. But Alok, I'm very intrigued. What is a scientist doing with an astronaut?
Yeah, so see what he said, right? It's a big collaborative event. It's a lot of people. It's not just him going to space. Obviously, the Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, has played a very critical role. They've done a lot of the trainings, etc. But other institutes are also involved. So, for example, I can speak about academia. Like I'm from the Indian Institute of Science. Indian Institute of Science played a big role in designing some of the curriculum around what they should be reading, because see, while they are astronauts, they also have to learn a lot of science. They have to understand how re-entry works, how fluid mechanics works, how they also have to solve math problems. They have to learn a lot of things, because that's also part of what an astronaut's job is, to be able to make all those calculations on the go, try to understand some of the physics. If something goes wrong, something you are not trained for, you have to fall back on your scientific knowledge in order to address that, right? And that's where we come in, and it was I think for me also it was a great learning experience, and I think I also thoroughly enjoyed the journey going along. In some ways I feel he took us also along to space.
So, so the selection process, because for us, I think everybody in the country remembers the day the Prime Minister gave you all, the four of you, your wings, and it was a very, very special moment for all of us. But you're just four, and the Air Force itself is a big board. So tell us the whole selection process, and how did you get to be selected?
So when this was announced in 2018 by the Prime Minister that a son or daughter of the country would fly to space very soon, everything started from there. Machinery was set into motion, and so they started working out of how would we structure this program. One element of this program is the technical capability of having a launch vehicle and the space capsule itself, which is under development as of now. And then the second part is the human element, the astronauts who are going to go. And so for developmental missions, what happens is that test pilots are inherently trained to be interacting with developmental machines, for the airplanes that are being made new, or weapon systems that are being tried out, or any kind of system that gets integrated. They are the ones who are trained to work with that. And what essentially is the difference is, if I can stress upon it, is that between a normal pilot and a test pilot, the test pilot actually becomes half engineer by the time he passes out or completes his course. And if it is a test engineer, he becomes a half pilot. So essentially what you're doing is you're learning the language which the designers speak. So the communication becomes much easier between you and them. So that is why in a developmental program it makes sense to take test pilots, which has been the precedence for all the development programs across the world, like from Mercury program, which was there, when the US started. So it has been a norm. So that is why I think it was an easy solution, or for ISRO also to adopt, that we would want test pilots. That is how it started. Fortunately, I was a test pilot by then, and I was serving as a test pilot, and I was already in Bangalore when this signal came out. And we are a total of 72. At that time, we were 72 test pilots in the Indian Air Force. And so all of us applied. And when you say selection, it is already a huge selection first to get into the Air Force, get selected as a fighter pilot.
That itself, in fact, Air Force pilot, test pilot is in itself a journey.
Yeah, so it's three
yeah.
steps. So it's 3 steps of filtration already that has happened, and then from there, you take the 72 people, and from there you get to 4. So I think it was a long process of selection all this while. Yes, it was a great journey, by the way.
So this is the International Space Station, and so how did you feel when from the 4 his name was selected?
I think I remember the day when he called and said that he's been selected. I was really very, very happy for him. Not just for him, because I think with him, he has a amazing scientific temperament that he has taken, and that's very key, right? I mean, while there is a lot of interest around an astronaut, there's so much more that is going with the astronaut to the International Space Station. For example, 7 experiments went with him. 2 experiments are from the Indian Institute of Science. You have to be able to perform them. You have to be able to get data. So it's not just the astronaut, but there's so much the work of so many other people who is going along. And you need somebody who has that kind of temperament in such a difficult scenario, right? I just can't imagine how difficult it must be. I've experienced hypergravity for a few seconds, and it was excruciating.
You did the aeroplane.
I did a parabolic flight, and after just a few minutes, I felt like vomiting, and it's very difficult to concentrate on the experiment after that. So in that situation where he has gone on board of a much more powerful rocket, gone there, he has to maneuver. He was the pilot for the mission. He has to maneuver, make sure everything is right, then go and dock. And it's such an unnatural situation for a human being to be away from gravity. right? And in such confined spaces, and you have to be there for so long. I'm sure it takes a toll, and you need somebody who has the nerves of steel, that in that situation, not only are you taking care of yourself, but you are also performing important scientific information, data, experiments, data of which will be very valuable, and it has to be done properly. So one can just imagine the characteristics that have to be put into a human being to endure that kind of a situation. It takes the best of us.
I think I can add on to what he said. I think he has a very big role to play in, what I was able to do when I went up there and survive, these things. As he said, it is challenging and it is, at present you are suffering and still working. Working with him, if you have worked with him, he prepares you for that. If you can survive Alok, I think you can survive anything in this world and out of this world also.
Yes, I'm worse than microgravity.
So I think kudos to him.
Yeah. I think I won. I got you both to PLF. So, Shubhanshu, you got selected among the 4 great. Then you got selected to go to International Space Station, even greater. And then, honestly, I think millions of us, when we heard that you were the one piloting it, I was like, that is an absolute unknown. So tell us from the fact that, we thought, okay, you're going with NASA and, there might be someone who has gone, but you were doing it as a first and you were the one doing that. So you must understand that for us, it was fascinating. So it's like, what expertise you gained in theory or, that you managed to do that?
So I would say that there was experience available. I think maybe that is not understood clearly. So I went in this mission, Axiom 4 mission, as the mission pilot, but there is a position called commander of the capsule. So the commander has the overall responsibility of the capsule, like everything that happens within that, and the navigating or the piloting remains with the mission pilot. So basically we work together to navigate and operate there. And I was very fortunate to have the guidance of Dr. Peggy Whitson, who is the American astronaut and the most experienced American astronaut. Like, she has spent 695 days in space now. So we used to joke that she beat some of the satellites in terms of mileage. That is how many days she has spent in space. So we had guidance with her, but again, like I said, she has the overall responsibility. So at times it would be required that she's addressing something else and I am focusing on the piloting part of it. The training really prepares you well, and obviously my background helped me a lot, because I was already operating machines and flying them, and so this is essentially interaction with machine and trying to do something, going somewhere or guiding somewhere. So the concepts were very familiar, so it was not very alien to me when we started doing. But like you said, everything that you have prepared and studied and done in your past, but when this thing happens, when the rocket ignites, and when you go to space, everything is new. Like, it's a new experience. You cannot train for that on ground. It is not possible for you to train. So everything what is happening. You know the interaction and everything. But what happens is your conditions change. Your environment changes suddenly, and that you have to real time readjust, and navigate with what is happening in the moment. I think so that gives you a lot of experience. So the one part of the experience is learning and training, during the preparation, but the experience of space flight is really what gives you that experience that you bring back with it. And we used to have a joke that you say that you are ready for a space flight when you finish one. So that is how it happens. When you get that experience, that is the time you exactly know, okay, this is what I should have done and this is what I will do next time if it happens. So that is what the experience does to you.
So now you've gone to space and back. So where is Gaganyaan? Like, what is the mission of Gaganyaan? I understand that I know how this kind of thing ignite minds. I am completely am for the argument that you're not supposed to weigh the price. They say India is a poor country, why look at the gaze at the stars? I completely believe that you should gaze at the stars. It's not that people are not going to stop being fed just because we're gazing at the stars. So can you bring in policy here? Why Gaganyaan? Can you explain to us? I always need to ask because you need to justify. I don't need to be explained, but you need to justify why Gaganyaan.
So one of the key things about space, for the longest times we have been told that India is a poor nation. We should maybe not attempt some of these things. But from the days of Vikram Sarabhai, see, during his time, even sending a satellite was an extremely costly affair that many thought that India should not undertake an affair like that. But he has shown us through his vision, through what him and his followers and ISRO has achieved today, is that the benefits of that technology, that effort, the gargantuan effort that goes into putting something into space, the benefits of that far outweighs the cost that goes in. And it's a nation building exercise, it's a character building exercise for the entire nation. You deal with some of the most difficult technologies, you build new technology, you invent, you put things to test, and then the results of that are out there for everybody to see. And you either fail or you pass. You fail many a times, but that one time you pass, it's a spectacular pass. Everybody in the country feels, that jubilation inside their hearts. And what that has done, we want to now do again with Gaganyaan, because Gaganyaan is a step forward. We know how to put inanimate objects into orbit. We have put many a satellite. We have made them work for decades. But putting a human being is far more difficult. The ratings, the safety ratings of the entire aircraft have to change. You have to now basically deal with new technology. You have to create. You have to be able to monitor a human being in space. You have to create clothes for that. You have to create food for that. You have to create diagnostic tools for measuring maybe when he goes up, when his blood pressure is changing. You want to know many of those things on Earth right now. So a lot of technology is built around, from material science to aerospace engineering, to mechanical engineering, to understanding of fluid physics, to biophysics. There's so much wealth that comes out. This is like the manthan, the classic manthan of the samudra, and the benefits of that will be for all of us to see in the days to come, when we invent new things, when we get new science out of this. And probably the happiest thing would be that there will be an Indian doing it, right? So that's obviously something that for our children to aspire for.
So coming back to you, and maybe this will be my last set of questions to both of you, but I'll ask you first. When I spoke to you and I was telling you what we try to do here at PLF, you said you wanted to communicate with children. You wanted to with the young. So I completely understand that. So can you tell us what is the message you want to give to all those who look up to you, and you saw the way? I mean, I don't know even if a movie star or a cricketer would have got as much adulation as you got this evening. It was just very, very heartening. And so what is your mission? What is it that you want from this, with this communication that you're doing, with this outreach?
Yeah, and I would probably start as an extension to what Alok was saying, as to your previous question, and when you said, that why should we do this, because it is so expensive. Everything what he said absolutely makes sense and everything, and this is the additional part where you asked me this question. And since the time I've come back from my mission, I have people from northern part of our countries, eastern part of our countries, western part of the country, southern part, all across. Everyone has reached out, and they are all happy, they are all proud. They have not gone to space. I have gone to space. Why are they proud? Why? What makes it? This is what I feel is the thread that joins everyone together. Today you saw what you saw, that how kids are excited. Why are they excited? Because they feel someone like them has gone to space. And this is the power these missions hold. They have the capability of bringing the entire nations together and transforming the entire landscape. For months now, I think, since the time I launched and I have come back, this was being covered in the news. Everybody was talking about it. This single issue brought everyone together. I think that is the power this holds. So I would start off from there, and then I would move on to say that for me, as a personal I think that I have been extremely fortunate to have gotten this opportunity. Somebody else could have gone, I understand that, and it would have been equally well done. I am very confident of it. But I have been extremely fortunate that I got this opportunity. So now it is my responsibility to open these doors for the people who are there, who are going to follow in my footsteps. And that is what my mission is. And the first step in that mission is, the how is easy. How you need to do this. It is easy. but to dream of what needs to be done, that is the biggest challenge. If you can get kids to believe that they can do this, I think that is the biggest win, which actually already kind of happened. When I was on orbit, I had 3 interactions with kids. One was live interview and 2 through ham radio. I could not see them, but we could talk. And it was so fascinating to me that in all these 3 interactions, there was one kid, at least in each of them, who was not asking me, what is it that you're doing, how does it feel, or questions of that sort. This question doesn't even make sense what they asked, because I can come back and talk to them about it. But what they asked was that, how do I become an astronaut? And you understand the power it holds. That kid is already thinking about it. He wants to be one. And that is what these missions do. So I think my job is this, that more number of kids should be asking this, more number of kids should be saying that we want to do this, how do I become? And I think once we have done that, 70% of the job is done. Now 30% is just enabling them, and I think we'll be able to get them where they want to be.
Wonderful. Alok, thank you for coming to PLF. Your closing remarks?
I would say that people should learn from him, the students. He is way beyond the age of a regular student, but his curiosity has not gone down. One of the things we used to do during COVID times is we take telescopes on a terrace and watch stars and photograph them for hours. I learned a lot from that exercise. He learned a lot. It's the curiosity that drives us, and we should never give up trying that. And I think those who cannot go to space can still go to space. The lights of the stars are still coming, raining down on us and trying to illuminate our minds. So we should open our eyes and just look upwards.
Yes, brilliant pictures from astrophotography from both of them. And thank you so much. Really, really grateful for you to come here and accept our invitation. And hope to see you again.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. It has been great being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.